Hello, everyone, and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to helping individuals have the successful accounting, bookkeeping, or tax business that they've always wanted. I'm Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. I've been working with accounting professionals now for more than 20 years, helping people actually get the jobs they've always wanted, but more importantly, actually start and build successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses, essentially giving them the tools, training, coaching, and support to be in business for themselves and not by themselves with the trainings that we offer here at Universal Accounting Center. One of the things that we pride ourselves on here at Universal Accounting Center is giving individuals the confidence and competence to go out and actually offer the quality accounting services that they would like to ultimately get paid what they're worth. We do invite you to listen to this podcast as well as our other episodes and suggest that you subscribe to this so that you can get the latest updates as they become available. Today we have Allen Bostrom, and we're welcoming him to the show. He actually has a great deal of history with Universal, so this is going to be fun for all of us. Allen Bostrom has actually worked for one of the largest corporations in the world for a dozen years or more. He became a CPA in Texas back in 1987 and then the CEO of Universal Accounting Center for 24 years. And that's going to be part of our little story that we're going to be doing here. He's actually written 2 books, one of which is In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable, as well as Red to Black in 30 Days, an accountant's guide to help businesses with cash flow management. So, Allen, first of all, thank you for being here and welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Roger.
So this is something that I'm just going to start with. Allen, we've known one another for many a years. I think we met back in maybe 97, 98, 99, back as that many years ago. Does it seem that long ago for you?
Oh, it's been a while, but I appreciate the relationship we've had over the years. You've always been a good friend and always been thoughtful of me and my family and also been very loyal to the things that are important to me. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's been actually an honor and a blessing for me as well. Now, one of the things that I don't know that everyone realizes is Universal Accounting Center was started back in 1979 by Allen's father, Alf Bostrom. And then Allen became the second president of Universal Accounting Center, running it for a number of years. And then I became the third. But I'd like to point out a few accolades, if Allen doesn't mind, that if we could see him, may make him blush, but it's for good reason. Allen was he was a great leader and mentor. We were able to, as a company, actually achieve a number of accolades, one of which was Inc. 500 one year and Inc. 5000 for 5 years, as well as Utah 100, where our corporate headquarters is, for 6 years. And those are some no small accomplishments. So congratulations on those and many other things that you were able to achieve in your career.
Well, thank you, Roger. I couldn't have done it without your help. You were instrumental, involved in each of those accomplishments. And also, I look back on those things and they weren't things that we sought after. They were things that happened, but they came from just a staff that was committed and that knew what they were doing and that wanted to achieve great things. And it was great and is still great to be a part of that organization.
Yeah, amazing team of individuals that made each of those a possibility. One of the things that I'd like to do, just kind of go back, and I know a little bit of this story, so I'll kind of set it up. When writing the book In the Black, we addressed your early exposure to accounting, spending time with your father, going with him on weekends and such to the job to spend time with him. Share with us just basically how you got drawn to the accounting profession. What made you interested in that career?
Well, I guess a lot of it was just watching my father. I mean, I was a young boy when I started. He was very busy. He pretty much was on the job 24/7, and if I wanted to spend any time with him, Saturdays I could get in the car with him, and he would go out and visit his various clients, and most of them were dealerships, and so it was kind of fun as a boy to walk around the new cars and see the newest things. But most interesting to me was just to watch him and how he interfaced with the management and what he asked them And as a young boy, I didn't know much about it, but I didn't understand much about it. But as I got older and did it more and more, I started recognizing the patterns he used, and he would share with me some of his insights. And I realized that much of what he talked about was accounting. And he would look at the reports and he would study them out, and he would analyze and strategize based on what he saw happening from the reports and from the business. And I guess from that point is when I decided that sounded like the right place for me to go. He did involve me, and I was employed by a couple of those car dealerships for a while, taking over the offices, and that was while I was going to school, and it just reconfirmed to me that I had some interest there, and that I could do that under his direction and tutelage, and it was the right decision for me.
Well, one of the advantages that I know that came from working at one of the dealerships is that's where you met your lovely wife, Sherry.
It sure was. Yeah, I was hiring someone to work in the office, and she happened to be one of the applicants, and I told my father, I said, when I went down there, I said, I'm interviewing someone today that looks pretty good on paper, and so I hope that this is the right person. And anyway, I interviewed her, had a great talk with her, and uh, came home that night. And my dad said, "So how'd the interview go?" And I said, "Well, the interview went well. Uh, I think I'm going to marry her." And so anyway, that's how we met, and she. I ended up hiring someone else actually in the long run, and asked her out when I called her to tell her I'd hired somebody else. But I asked her out, and she was a little bit sheepish about that. But eventually, she agreed to it, and that was the beginning of our relationship.
See, it's a fringe benefit of employment. You just never know how these are going to play out. And what's funny about this is you didn't hire her. I always find that story quite humorous because of that.
Yeah, she was she would have been great in that role, and but I thought it would be easier to get to know her if we had a different relationship than working with her. So, and it turned out, I think.
Once again, you're a smart man. You're a smart man. So obviously you got drawn into the accounting profession. What do you feel made it such a great profession for you? What do you like about it?
There's a lot of things that make it uh, a good profession for some. It's not for everybody. Um, but two of my four children, actually three of my four children right now are into accounting, and so
Uh-huh.
they, uh, I think they saw the advantage of it, and I didn't talk them into it. I just let them make their own decisions. But it just has a lot of things to it, and we're not talking necessarily about just the traditional accounting degree from the university and then going into a CPA firm. Although that's the way a lot of people choose to go. That's the way both my children, two of my three children went that are in accounting. Um, but it has a clear career path, and so that's attractive to them. Meaning that when you get out of school, you know pretty well what you're going to do next. And a lot of degrees or a lot of paths don't have that clear career direction. So that's one of the great things. But the thing that I think was most attractive and is most attractive about getting an accounting background is it is the language of business. I mean, you learn pretty much everything about the way a business is financed and operates and is discussed. And so when you have accounting backgrounds, you can do a lot of different things in business. You're not limited to just working in the office, but you have the opportunity to really understand finance, understand uh, the um, the operations. You see it on a daily basis, and you understand what what bankers are talking about when they're talking to business owners.
Yeah.
And most business owners
I,
don't
I,
have a good handle on
I remember there's a story that you've shared, and you've shared it a few times, but it's when you were working at the mine and the operations didn't understand what was going on in the business, but you having been to the mine and seen what was happening, you could actually answer questions that they were unaware of simply because you took the time to get out of the office and go down to the work site and see what was happening at the mine itself. Does that ring a bell? Do you
that. Oh,
remember that
I
story?
sure do. That was one of my favorite parts about the job at the time. I was working for Exxon in their mining division, and I was stationed out in a uranium mine in outside of Douglas, Wyoming. It's very remote, but uh, one of the things I enjoyed doing was every Friday driving down into the mine and just observing what was going on for about 30 minutes. Uh, and quite frankly, a lot of professionals don't like to get their hands dirty. Uh, so a lot of people, a lot of the other associates I worked with didn't have that grasp on what was happening inside the mine itself. And so when management would ask at the end of the month, well, why did results turn out this way? They're good or bad. And it was interesting to be able to relate the numbers, the financial results of the months back to what was actually happening in the pit. Um, and that when you can make that connection, it just it just makes it real. And it's not just working with numbers or reports. It's actually working with the individuals and the activities that are going on in the business. And that's when it really begins to mean a lot more. Uh, so I just find that accounting has so much versatility and so many different opportunities if we're willing to really understand that accounting is not just keeping track of numbers. It's not just being a librarian for the business finances. It's actually gathering information and history so that we can assist the business owners in running their business more profitably in the future.
I loved how you've tied that all together because it's so much more than just producing the financial reports. Obviously, understanding the nuances behind the numbers and the relationship of those numbers is key. And that familiarity allows you to become that translator that you need to be of taking the accounting information, that language, and giving it to the business owner in a way that they can use to make more intelligent business decisions and understanding the business and being curious about it and being aware of what's going on behind the scenes as the business is operating allows you to then bridge that information from the numbers. What are the numbers telling us to what is actually going on in the company itself? And that makes you become what we refer to as a profit and growth expert. You understand the nuances of all that information. I think that's great. So why do accountants oftentimes get a bad rap then? Why the negative light that sometimes puts us into that category, I guess?
Well, I'll be pretty blunt, Roger. Sometimes accountants deserve it. They just see themselves in the uh, arena or in the duty of just gathering history, preparing reports, and then just handing it over to management and say, "I'm done for the day. Here's your history. You figure out what's going to happen in the future." And I think that a lot of management, a lot of owners or business people look at accountants just like they do a librarian. Just go find me a number and I'll figure out what to do next. The difference is, or the key to this is, nobody understands the numbers of the business more intimately and more completely than the accountant. And to stop at just giving out the work or giving out the results at the end of the month and say, that's the end, I've done my job, is uh, disconcerting. And I think it destroys somewhat the management's attitude towards accounting itself. They really need to have the help to go the extra step and that is to actually run the business. And that's what I enjoyed watching my dad is he would help gather the information. He would then he would consult and he would provide direction and guidance based on those results. He could look at a financial statement and say, well, this is where we've gone. This is what we're doing better than we were 6 months ago. So let's keep doing that and do more of it. Or he'd say, this is where we're really falling short. And so we've got to reconsider why we're going that direction. And I use that in our business. I've used that in business ever since. And I think that's what gains respect for the accountant when the accountant can simply show them this is what you need to do to become more profitable or a stronger business or direction, continue in the direction you want to head, whatever that is.
So then what does the business owner expect from the accountant then? What is it that we can understand from their point of view they need from us?
Well, the small business owners are good at what they do. I mean, if a small business owner starts a business um, selling, we'll just say selling shoes, the business owner knows the shoe business probably very well, knows what shoes, how to size them, what's selling, and so forth. He understands or she understands that part of the business, but they don't typically understand finance. They don't that they just think that if I sell a pair of shoes, I'm going to be profitable, but they don't relate that to all the costs that have to go into selling that shoe. And that's where most businesses get into trouble is that they do very well at what they're doing, but before long, they start recognizing I don't have the money in the bank. And we need to help them understand what the finance part of the business means and what direction they're heading and what are different things that they could do. We need to look to seek creative strategies. You know, a lot of the listeners, I'm sure, are considering working with a variety of small businesses. It might be a restaurant, it might be a used car dealer, it might be providing internet services or something like that. But they say, well, I'm good at pulling together the numbers, but I don't know what to do after that. And so it's up to us to go beyond just the numbers and perhaps even become familiar with that particular industry. I remember I was involved with um, a, a well, it was a gas station back then. Now, a lot of the listeners won't understand this, but most gas stations did not have food. When I was a young man and getting started in the business, they just pumped gas. That was their job. They usually had a couple bays out there to help take care of cars and so forth, but their job did not involve hot dogs in the lobby. And so I was working with a gas station owner, and he was seeing all of his business filter away. And it was frustrating for him, and he didn't know what to do about it. And it was about that time that we were starting to see 7-Elevens open up, and with all these convenience items in them. And so that was one of the things that he had to adjust to, and we have to help them through that process to look at why are some businesses doing well and why are some businesses doing poorly. Sometimes that involves maybe even going to some type of a trade fair or some type of a reading magazines that deal with a particular industry and looking for different strategies that will help that business owner be successful. And so what he did was he just turned his office into a little convenience store with soda pop and candy bars. And at that time, that's pretty much what a 7-Eleven was. They've gotten much bigger than that now, but he was able to pull some of that business back in that he had lost. And the other thing I will just say is a lot of business owners want to cut corners, and it always comes back to bite them. You know, some business owners think, well, if I don't pay my employees directly and as an employee, but as a contractor, I'll save a whole lot of taxes. Uh, I've just been involved in so many times where I've come into businesses when they've been doing that, and they've got serious problems because the IRS is very good at what they do, and they pay cash commissions, and so our job is to also help keep them honest, so they don't have to constantly be looking over their shoulder.
Yep. I think that peace of mind is very, very important. One of the things that I think I can relate to is, as you were describing that example of a gas station evolving and becoming a convenience store, which today you go and see everywhere. That is the business model. The same was true for Universal Accounting Center. Initially, it used to be, back in the day, a classroom environment where classes were offered in the morning and the evening. It was that traditional setting of sitting down in a classroom with an instructor. And over the years, we've evolved to where we were offering the instruction in a VHS format, and then later a DVD format. And just to give the storyline there, the context, the VHSs, as I remember, when we started to create those, we produced them simply to have a library on hand for people that were missing some classes so they wouldn't fall behind. And we quickly learned that we were able to see people were actually willing and interested in taking multiple sessions rather than attending the class, but to do the VHS course just to do it at their leisure and do it when they wanted. So we quickly learned that we could actually sell individuals the training that we offered in a VHS format, and they wouldn't have to come to the class at all. And so that opened up our ability to sell training to people remotely where the campuses didn't even exist. And then it moved from VHS to DVD and from DVD to online. But my illustration with this is simply to say what the company once was, which was campuses, no longer exists. We no longer have campuses. And in fact, our entire school is now independent study online. And that is kind of that evolution that you're talking about, that a business owner needs to be open to change to remain relevant in the economy as it evolves and changes. So I think your point is spot on. If you're a business owner and not paying attention to the numbers, you're not going to see where those adaptations need to occur.
Well, absolutely. And again, I can't emphasize enough where the accountant has the role to help the business owner see that, and to understand that there are other options and that there are ways to be more creative and to be more profitable. And although that might seem like a lot, you remember, Roger, as you mentioned, we started the VHS. I mean, its purpose actually was to help our brick and mortar campuses out there all over the country to be able to teach more effectively. We wanted to show them, here's how you teach this class. And then we started seeing that that could be used to help students be prepared if they miss a class. And then we went from there to thinking, why can't we sell these if we do them, just work them up a little bit differently and put a nice front end to this. And so that's the way business works. You never know, you never can see the end. You just continue to work through the steps, and an accountant can help them do that.
Yep. And I can definitely say that that journey can be rocky at times, but it's definitely, definitely worth it. That is very, very true.
Sure, you make a lot of mistakes along the way, but that's all right. You just come back and get back up, and you try it a little bit differently, and eventually you find the right combination that works.
Yep. So I'm just going to do a quick little break here for our sponsors. Obviously, the sponsor of the program is Universal Accounting Center. And with Allen Bostrom on, we have a wonderful offer today. In the podcast description, you'll find that you actually have access to receive a free copy of his book, In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable. I encourage you to get this. It's an excellent book as to how to run your business effectively and profitably and be the leader that you need to be to plan for the short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals that you have in your organization. organization. The other that you actually have available to you is you also have a chance here to get a free copy of the book Red to Black. Red to Black is that how-to guide to actually affect the cash flow management that's going on within an organization and help you become for your clients a profit and growth expert. These are two great books that every accountant needs to have within their library and literally use to make their business the business that you've intended it to be, that successful, profitable business where you're impacting your clients where it matters most. Now, with that being said, Allen, I've got a question for you regarding just business in general. Did you ever have a quote or a mantra that you used in business that you feel is worth sharing today?
Well, you've heard them all, Roger. One way or another. And so I could probably ask you that question better, but I think the one that most business owners need to hear, and I think you've used it a little bit today, was you got to work. You got to work on the business, not just in the business. And too many times a business owner just gets in and starts doing all the work and forgets that his or her business was their primary focus. And they lose track of where they're at and they just enjoy just just using their hands. They need to work. They need to be constantly spending time on working on the business to make it better. And that's true not only in the businesses that we're helping, but it's true on our if a person is working in their own accounting business, they've got to be constantly working on making it better for their clients.
Yes, the same evolutions we've experienced and described also happen in the accounting world. Accounting today is so much different than it was just 5 years ago, especially a lot with the third-party applications, the applications of artificial intelligence now that's coming into the accounting world. So much is evolving. You just cannot stay with the abacus and the green visor on your head and assume that you're going to be able to provide quality services as your clients expect. So well said with that one. The one I would throw in there is you need to see your business as a self-sustaining, living, breathing entity. You're the guardian or steward of this business. And like Allen said, you need to work on it. You need to kind of think ahead. And as you do so, you'll be able to help your business weather any storms that may come its way. Now, with that said, Allen, I'd like to ask you a question, both personally and kind of on a professional level when you were running Universal, and it's what were you passionate about? What personally are you passionate about? And at Universal, what were you passionate about?
Well, my personal passion is probably similar to most listeners out there, if not all of them. I mean, certainly family and friends are our greatest passion. We love the relationships we have with them. I have 4 children, all married and have their own children. We've got 8 wonderful grandchildren that we like to spend time with, and that's what brings us greatest joy. But I also am constantly personally passionate about building or being a better person myself and looking for personal improvement. And so I love to read a good book on how we can um, be, how we can be better in our lives, what we can do to change and become a better citizen and become a better, happier person. Because I think that's really what we're looking for is we're looking for happiness and joy. So those are some of my personal passions. My I'm at a point in my life now where my career passions are more around what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish with my wife and I in our lives? And how do we take advantage of the great experiences we've had in working with various businesses and in working with um, people. And
Well,
our,
let me ask it this way. Let me ask it this way: you've been retired now for about 5 years, as I believe. So what what do we all get to look forward to with retirement? What's this thing on the horizon that you can tell us is so great? What do you like about retirement?
Well, I love spending time with my family. I love being able to travel and see different things. We lived overseas for 3 of those years and had an amazing experience working in a country that uh, has some real economic issues and people that have traditions that are changing. It was one of the countries that was burdened during the Soviet Union time and came out of that in 1991, and they're still struggling with that. And so we were able to experience a different civilization and a different type of people. Um, and so those are things that we can do in retirement when we're prepared to do them that I could never have done during my career. I can now choose and pick and choose where I want to spend my time, and and that's good too. The key is to be looking for things that will help to make ourselves better. I don't want to just sit down and watch TV. That's something that I think, unfortunately, a lot of people choose to do in retirement, but that's not for me and my wife. So we just try to keep ourselves very busy. And I'm looking at a couple books to write, and we're looking at um, helping out with some friends that uh, need some, just some support. Um,
Well,
and again, those are some great things to be able to do in retirement.
Well, one of the things that it reminds me of is Maslow. He has a hierarchy of needs, and at the very top, with self-actualization, is this idea of then you give back to the community. There's this sense of wanting to give something back and help those that you can. And I think that what you were able to do those 3 years that you were overseas, living in a different culture, in a different country, that truly was you giving back, and that was a selfless act. And I commend you for taking the time to do that, because I know that it benefited a lot of people individually, and that's something that your life has afforded you. And I just think that's amazing what you were able to do there. Here's a question that I'd like to ask then. Uh, Regarding adversity, challenges, we all face them personally and professionally. Share with us something that you find is helpful coping with those challenges that sometimes life brings us.
We're challenged all the time, and it's a lot of people look at challenges as being a real problem or a uh, something to be disturbed or frustrated about. But challenges are what make us better, what make us stronger and better people. And that's true of businesses too. That when a business is challenged, if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. But the difference between a successful business owner and an unsuccessful one is the successful business owners face the challenges, figured out how to get around them, and to move on. We certainly had that I don't know if you remember, well, I'm sure you do, but when we were developing uh, different brick and mortar, we were trying to figure out how do we get campuses built out around the United States much faster and better. We could have done it ourselves and just gone out and built one up and then gone to another one. That's the way my father chose to do it. And he was successful in doing it that way. It just took a long time. But we decided to look at franchises and licensing, and we decided which one was going to be better. Each of them was a challenge, but through that process, we learned a lot about how to build the business on the right framework in the right way and to do it quickly. And it was a great learning experience, and you were very involved in that. And I always appreciated you being there.
Well, thank you. I have some fond memories of my travels meeting some of those franchisees. So I have a very fond memory of being on the East Coast with the snowstorm, arriving late at night and getting a rental car and going out on the unpaved roads to get to my hotel. And that was an adventure.
And that was,
Here's another question. What was that?
and that was a challenge, but you met it. Good for you.
I did, and I made it, and I got home, and I survived. So that was good. But it was a good experience. It was a good meeting with that particular client. Here's another question for you. Having lived out of the country, what does freedom mean to you?
Oh boy. Well, freedom is a something that I think we take for granted way too much. Um, I just love the fact that I pretty well know and understand what my opportunities are. I understand what will happen when I do the right thing in the right way. And, it gives me some peace of mind. Now, overseas, those oftentimes they don't have that same thing. It's not a level playing field. There's corruption in government. There's corruption in business, and although we can always say, well, we have corruption here in the U.S. too, we we don't understand really what corruption is until we get into some of these other areas of the world where the economy is so poor. Um, but we also know that we can travel pretty well. I love the fact that I can leave my passport at home for the first time in years. We have the freedom to be able to help choose who is going to govern and manage this country. And although it's done through millions of votes, hundreds of millions of votes, we have the opportunity to be part of that selection process. And some countries don't enjoy that; they don't experience that. But although we enjoyed being overseas for a few years, we enjoyed being back and having the freedom that we do here in the U.S.
Well said. I think your perspective is both important and unique. So thank you for that. So as we wrap up, I do want to just ask one final thought. What advice would you have for someone that is either starting or building their accounting firm? What words of wisdom might you want to share?
I think that the most important part of building an accounting practice is to have the interest of the client first in mind. That you consider yourself almost a partner with that client, that you're there to make their business more profitable. And you do that by being one, very sympathetic, empathetic towards the client, constantly looking for better ways for the client to do something, showing the client your interest and compassion through keeping in contact with that person regularly, and also keeping up on all the latest innovations out there in both the computer and business world that will make it an experience the client will appreciate. Um, they're saying that it's not so much the product but the experience now that's becoming more important when a a person is looking at both entertainment as well as services. And so you need to make their experience something that they will appreciate and enjoy.
Well said. I like that a lot. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a quick recap here and kind of summarize what it is we've been discussing. But before I do that, I just want to quickly again mention who our sponsor is and what we've got available. Essentially, Universal Accounting Center is sponsoring today's episode. And with that, you're able to, and I encourage you to get a copy of the book In the Black, 9 Principles to Make Your Business Profitable, as well as Red to Black, an accountant's guide to become basically a profit and growth expert, addressing the cash flow needs of the business. With those 2 books, you're going to have within your library the resources you need to really become a trusted advisor for your clients, and most importantly, work on your business as well, taking and applying these principles not only with your clients, but within your own company to make sure you're actually running a successful accounting business, building the premier accounting firm in your area. So with that, as a summary, what I've really appreciated and heard today is the fact that accounting is the language of business, but we need to understand that it's through a genuine, sincere interest in the client that we're truly able to take those numbers and make them relevant for the business owner and help them understand how those numbers really communicate what's going on in the business to complement what they're experiencing day by day. That with our interest genuinely in the client, we're going to be able to build a relationship with them that can be long-term in nature, building out that lifetime value of the client so that we can have good client relationships. And most importantly, with life, it's family. I think Allen spoke well that one of the things that we all need to cherish and appreciate is the families that we have, and keep them forefront in our minds so that we can balance our lives, perhaps. That's my word, so that we can actually work passionately in the businesses that we have, but at the same time, keep that priority of family straight. So, Allen, I want to thank you for being on the show today. It is an honor to actually have you, being the one who's fallen in your footsteps and most importantly, been mentored by you over so many years. I can definitely say that you held me to the grindstone on numerous occasions. One of the things that I do remember is with regards to success, there were also opportunity costs as to what did we miss, even as successful as we were, what more could we have done? And the accountability of, you said you're going to do this, are you going to really do it? And there were numerous times that there were things that I needed to get done that I knew you were going to hold me accountable for, and you did. And for that, I appreciate it. I think I'm a much better man because of it. And this opportunity to be the 3rd president of Universal Accounting Center has been a privilege and an honor, and I love the role that I have. In no way is it past tense. It's a passionate thing that I have today, and I'm pleased to be doing it now. So with that in mind, just to wrap things up and close this, we do encourage you to listen to our other episodes and subscribe to this channel and take advantage of these podcasts. This is Building Your Accounting Firm, the premier accounting firm in your area. For more information about how you can apply these principles in your business and how you can actually get the training, certifications, coaching, and support that you need to be in business for yourself, but not by yourself, go to universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. Allen, thank you so much for being on the show. Is there anything final you'd like to share?
Thank you, Roger. No, I've enjoyed being with you, and I appreciate the fact that you brought up balance in your life and what that means to you. I just, there's two types of balance in life that I think overcompass everything else, and that is both physical and spiritual health. And you've always been a good example of both of those to me, and I appreciate the fact that you have an interest in keeping everything in balance and being the better person that you are. Thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you. Everybody take care and have a wonderful day. And remember this, if it's about accounting, it is universal.